So nice to meet you, Wayne. Can you present yourself and your work concerning LSD magazine?
Sure. Well, my name is Wayne Anthony.
Yeah.
I'm a published author. I'm an artist. I'm a performance artist. Currently, I'm publishing a magazine called LSD magazine, which is one of the biggest street art graffiti magazines in Europe. It's a free magazine. It's online, and although it's called LSD, which basically stands for London Street Art Design, although it's got London in the title, it isn't a London-based magazine. It is a global magazine, and basically we try to present the best artists that we can find from all around the world.
And how exactly do you find the people you put in your magazine, like the artists?
Sure. Well, we're lucky enough. When we first started the magazine, we really had to kind of search online. We Googled artists, and the way that we did it was, I've never really been interested in, you know, giving more publicity to people who are already getting lots of publicity. I'm really into, you know, giving publicity to things that we actually like, as opposed to things that are actually popular. So we would just search the internet, just searching for art that we actually liked. And when we found something, we'd just try and contact the artist. A lot of the time, these were completely unknown artists, you know, no one, especially in England, I've heard of them. And so we really gave those types of artists a break. And, you know, now artists contact us, you know, I mean, we still Google and we still do our own research because we're still important. I mean, we interview maybe 13, 14 artists in every issue, but we also interview, you know, 10 or 12 recording artists, you know, and maybe 10 or 12 people that are from outside of the art remit, you know, philosophers or science fiction writers, things like that, really.
Yeah, so you put a lot of stuff in your magazine, not only street art, it's also...
Yeah, for us, because I mean, for me, if I'm going to be completely honest, you know, I was around in the 80s when the graffiti first came around, and I was interested in it, but it wasn't something that, you know, I really focused on at that time, you know, and so for me, it really come late on in the day. So for me, if I was going to do something within the street art field, you know, for me, it had to be something that was global, and it had to be something that represent real artists, in the sense that, you know, because someone paints on a wall, it doesn't mean that they're dumb or they're stupid or they don't know anything. And that was one of my main incentives. It was to give a voice to these artists who might not have had a voice anyway, and it was to show people that no, these aren't just mindless vandals painting on people's houses. You know, we don't actually even interview anyone that paints on people's houses. We don't actually know anyone that paint on people's houses. They paint on walls, outside walls and factories and, you know, places like where we are today, but not on houses, you know.
Okay, and can you tell what has changed since you started the magazine and now it's becoming bigger?
With the street art, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, the street art has really been, in London, you know, has really been building momentum for the last 10 years. You had the likes of Banksy, you know, who really highlighted it in England in a street art context. I mean, obviously we already had, graffiti was already well established here, you know, but the street art in London was quite new. It's been happening for the last 10 years, but I think that every year as technology gets better, you know, people get more access to cameras and things like this, it grows more and more and more. And in the last 5 years, I would say that so many people now have digital cameras, and lots of people are trying to find interesting ways of taking photos. You have so many social networks, you know, you've got your Facebooks and your MySpace and whatever else you have, and so people have this thirst for photography. And one of the interesting subjects that they're choosing is street art graffiti. So now, today, street art graffiti has never had so much publicity. It's bigger now than it's ever been in the history of art in this country. And the beautiful thing about it is it's accessible to anybody. It's not just a certain demographic of people. You know, it's not just guys who like hip-hop, or it's not just people who are, you know, hate authority. You know, these are really wide demographics, from poets and philosophers and just the normal people. You know, I mean, many a times I've been standing outside a piece of art on a wall, you know, and people would stop and then we would generate conversation, and then suddenly I realised that there was something quite special that was happening outside of these walls, and it wasn't something that was driven by drugs, it wasn't something that was driven by music, it was driven by pure creativity. And that's really why I got into the industry, and that's really why I wanted to give a voice to these artists, because they were getting bad publicity in the press and they were getting called mindless thugs, and they were just these really smart kids, you know, not just kids but really smart people who wanted to present their art in a different way. They didn't want to be confined to art college or confined to a canvas or confined to a studio, and that's why it's so pure and it's just uncensored and it's uncontrolled, and that's what I love about it. And yeah, we've all got a bit of rebel inside of us, you know, and so I can really appreciate and respect, for example, graffiti writers who do it for the pure love. You know, there's no money involved, they're not interested in making a single cent, they're just doing it for the love. And yes, it's changed in the sense that now with the street art, you know, street art came along and kind of monetized the whole thing, you know, and so now, I mean, I'm not against people earning money from it by a long shot. I think that if you can earn money from your creativity and your skills, whatever that might be, then good on you, fantastic, you should do that. But what it's done, it's kind of monetized the whole scene. So now what you have is you'll have some bright spark straight out of art school who might paint on one wall, you know, in a trendy area such as Hackney or Shoreditch, take a few photographs, put it online, and then they do a show and they're selling work for thousands of pounds. And that's really one of the gripes that graffiti writers are having with some of the street artists at the moment, is that it's really all about the money. But for me, I don't see it as being all about the money. I mean, there is a section of it that is driven by pure money, but most of the street artists are driven by a passion to put something up on a wall and to get somebody to engage in whatever way they will in the subject or the topic matter, even if they don't understand it in the way the artist meant, you know.
Okay, and how do you find the street art, like pictures? Do you do it yourself with your team from the magazine, or people send you pictures from what they see?
Well, the thing about doing anything, I'm a workaholic in life, you know. I've done lots of big projects in my life that are in history books and, you know, that I'm known for around the world. And for me, I'm really, you know, I'm not interested in doing something that's kind of small and localized, you know. And if I'm going to do something, you know, I'm the type of person that I'm not going to ask loads of people for help. So most of the photos that originally that we used to have, I used to actually get up, go out and take them myself. And, you know, I started taking photos probably about 4 years ago. And today I've probably got about, you know, 100,000 photographs of graffiti and street art. So, but the good thing about being popular now is that we can just contact any artist around the world, introduce them to the magazine and ask them to make a contribution. So that part I'm really enjoying. I really love the fact that now, I mean, in our magazine, our last issue 8 for example, you know, we've got pictures from Italy, Australia, New Zealand, you know, Spain, you know, Holland, Germany, France, you know, and so that's where we're going now. We're just, you know, going to publish photos from every single country. So that's good. People are sending us photos and do send us photos.
So, like when you're making papers about abroad, this is the artist that contacts you and gives you the files. Like you're from in London, you're doing yourself, but abroad you're working with the people.
Yeah, because to be honest, this LSD magazine is a 7-day-a-week job. It really is. It's such a big magazine. It's like 500 pages. There's 2 of us that do the magazine. We both live in 2 separate countries. So you really have to have a passion for this to get up every day and, you know, interview artists, interview recording artists or interesting people, or, you know, going out and taking photos. You really need to have a passion for it.
Can you tell like a typical week for creating a LSD magazine?
A typical week? In a week of LSD would be basically marketing, doing all the online viral marketing, you know, letting people know who we've got in the magazine. It would be researching on Flickr, researching all the different, we've got different networks around the world, so it would be researching all the different groups. We probably get about 600 emails a week, so it's going through emails, going through Flickrs, going through groups. On Facebook we probably get about, you know, 400 messages a week. Okay. You know, so a week is more or less stuck in answering emails or doing pages. I mean, the longest thing is actually creating the pages, because we create the pages too. And we're not illustrators. I've never done a magazine before, and neither has my partner. But we just knew that we wanted to do something, and we haven't got the money to do a printed magazine, and we didn't know if it would work anyway. And because we love technology, and because we love the way that technology is being utilised today, we thought, well, no, let's do an online magazine, and so that's what we did,
And can you present your partner in LSD magazine?
Both of our backgrounds are really in organising large-scale events. My partner in the magazine, Cyrus, he's known for being one of the organisers of Spiral Tribe, which is a massive collective that lots of people obviously are aware of. They've been going since the 90s, and they've done parties all over the world, amazing parties. They build fire-breathing, moving robots, 60-foot tall, made out of metal, and they're really just out there, and really smart, and so Cyrus comes from that background, and I've come from an acid house background, and I used to do large-scale illegal parties here, we'd kick the door down from a warehouse, 100,000 square foot, I'd bring 10,000 people in, sound and lights, and we'd just have a party all night. I'd go out to police wearing a suit, and I would tell them that I was George Michael's manager, or I was a top man at Sony or EMI, and if you don't move your car, my ninja lawyers are going to rip you apart, that kind of thing, So that's really our backgrounds, and so again, both Cyrus and I, we have no, experience in Illustrator or very minimum experience in Photoshop. So or InDesign, and so we've basically had to learn all of these new bits of software to actually get the magazine out. And it might not be terribly presented in a terribly creative way, but when you've got 500 pages to get through, there's not many different configurations that you can really do, And when even the old issue, what's a big issue for us even, is questions. Writing questions. We've been doing this for like nearly 2 years now, and we're really known for asking artists questions. I mean, artists are forever saying to us, no one ever noticed that before, or no one's ever asked that before. I mean, when we find an artist, we really go deep into their background to find out, what makes them tick and what drives them, and what are the things that they're interested in. Are they interested in spiritual stuff? Are they interested in political stuff? Are they a rebel? What's going on inside their heads? And we give them long, in-depth interviews. So it might be 10 pages. In our last issue 8, we've got an interview with Goldie, who's a famous graffiti writer, drum and bass head, musician. And I think that might be 12, 13 pages. We're big into in-depth interviews. We're not really interested in what colours do you like, or or short, free-question interviews. And so that is becoming an issue for us as well, to try and to keep coming up with all of these new, interesting ways to ask, which is more or less probably the same question. But you can't have 15 artists with the same question in one issue, or the next issue. So that is kind of tough.
Okay, and can you say a few words about next LSD magazine which will go out?
Sure. The most recent issue of LSD magazine is issue 8, which is out now. That basically came out just a couple of weeks ago. And that's what Goldie, Going, again, about 15 major artists from around the world, recording artists, DJs, and just really interesting heads. People talking about, like, for example, the whole thing with the Occupy movement, which is happening. We interview hackers. We will interview people from Anonymous. We really interview really interesting people. And the next issue, again, it's not something we plan. Because we've got a couple of months to do it. It's something that happens quite organically as we go along. But what always happens is, on every single issue, at the end, when we're about to publish, we've always got more content than what we actually need. I mean, that's one thing that happens. We've always got 30 or 40 more pages, so we've got to slow down with the pages, but we're going to just keep coming out, keep bringing out really good, high quality content. Again, we're not interested in any, low brow stuff. We're interested in high quality content. and we're just going to keep delivering that for as long as we can, and hopefully, you know, we might get the interest of someone that might want to come on board and maybe, you know, produce books or paper magazines. I mean, much of our time is spent on the creative end of it, so we haven't really had time to focus on the business end, you know, but we're just going to keep firing it out.